Louise, we'll start with you. What are your big takeaways, your main thoughts after rewatching this episode?
Okay, yes, I have a lot of thoughts, so feel free to shut me up whenever. Um, but I really thought this is kind of like the beginning of the end, and almost like the whole time we as a viewer kind of knew what Omni-Man's objectives were and how he wasn't necessarily a good guy, but this is like the episode where everyone in the show finally learns. So you're kind of like, oh my God, thank God, like they know. Like I'm not just being played around anymore. But some things that really stood out to me was uh weirdly enough on this rewatch, I kind of focused on Cecil and
Oh,
his character because I know it's really easy to focus on Omni-Man and this big change and then like Mark becoming and embracing Invincible and then like dealing with his relationship with his father and like poor was it is Debbie his mom?
hmm.
Poor Deb like there's so many other characters who go through so much that I feel like Cecil gets kind of thrown into the background, but his character is kind of suspicious to me.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily think he is like a good guy. I like to, well, while rewatching this, I kind of thought maybe Nolan and Cecil are two sides of the same coin. Where
Mm-hmm.
they both are like very passionate towards their mission and their planet, and they're
Mm-hmm.
willing to
Yeah.
kind of go the distance. So that's something that kind of uh like I noticed during this episode was the lengths that Cecil and Omni-Man went to like get to Invincible and like talk to him. I thought was kind
Mm-hmm.
of suspicious, but overall I really thought that this episode was just a really great setup for the following episode, which is like the reaction, I guess. Uh,
Yeah. No, I completely agree about Cecil. He has always I've never like fully trusted the guy. Especially again upon rewatch of this season. I just don't like the way he treats Damien Darkblood either. Because like he knows Cecil knows the truth and Damien Darkblood is just trying to like show him why. Meanwhile, Cecil's like, no, like you're a devil, like or a demon, like I'm gonna not listen to you. So yeah, I can definitely see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. Well, there's quite a lot that goes down this episode. Um, why don't we jump into before we get to all the Omni-Man stuff in more depth, why don't we jump into the whole robot storyline? Because that really um there's a lot that happens with that in this episode.
Yeah.
Um, what are your thoughts on baby baby robot?
I know when I first watched this like season, I did not like think Robot was as creepy as he was upon my second rewatch. I think like the first time I was like, oh, like he just wants to be a normal boy. And
yeah,
then
Yeah.
the second rewatch, I was like, oh wait, all the things Robot does are a little creepy.
it's he steals DNA. He
Yeah.
takes his DNA, makes a mini version of him for himself because he's in love with Monster Girl. And also, he lied to the whole team because they all thought he was like an AI robot, and it turned out to be some little 30-year-old, decrepit 30-year-old in a tube of
Yeah.
liquid that
Yeah.
can't breathe oxygen or whatever. And he breaks out two criminals to like make a clone.
Yeah.
It's the craziest thing because I guess it's like the distances you'll go for love,
Yeah.
but also like even making himself at the same age as Monster Girl looks appears
Mhm.
is like kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Because if I was Monster Girl, I don't know if I would be into that. I I'd be like, oh, thanks for helping me, but you really didn't have to do that. You know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, and I feel like we can see Monster Girl kind of like get the ick sometimes, but then
Yeah.
Robot will do things like literally save her life in the previous episode, and she'll be like, "Oh, okay, like maybe he's like literally manipulating her."
or like grooming her, you know, like love bombing. Like I saved your life. You have to love me.
Yeah.
I made a whole body and killed myself out of mercy or whatever he said.
Yeah.
But if I don't even, you know, what's also really interesting to talk about the fact that the clone, you know, Rudy, I think is his name, knows that he's the new clone and watched himself die.
Yeah, like the real robot. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I wonder what that would do to yourself, to someone.
I noted that it was kind of Black Mirror-esque, um,
Yeah.
in that like the original robot, like what the Maulers point out is like he doesn't get to go on and live his weird fantasy. He just dies, but then a new version of him that retains all of the memories and knowledge gets to, you know, go flirt with Monster Girl. So it is kind of like existential, maybe, because it would suck to be like the decrepit robot.
And like watch Rudy like live out his wildest dreams.
His
Yeah,
his last line I wrote because I actually found it really interesting is that like, you know, Rudy's all upset. He's like, "Why me?" And then the original version of robots like this is an act of mercy. So like his lifestyle was so bad that he was willing to make this sacrifice technically for himself. I don't know if you call that selfless or selfish, right? Because it's
Yeah.
still himself, but oh, I it's like what a tricky situation. And I also think it's interesting, and you can cut this out. I don't know if you guys edit this, but it goes with the next season when the blue guys they make another clone of themselves, but the one knows that he is the older, like one of the blue guys knows that he was the one who created the clone because his body was burnt, and it
yeah,
ruins the dynamic, and they both end up having to die
Yeah.
because having the knowledge that you're a clone doesn't work. And so I wonder if Rudy kind of was able to dodge that type of emotional turmoil because the original version of himself died.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe he dodged that, but instead, like now he's gonna have like this weird like power trip kind of thing. Like he is the only like living creature that isn't robot.
Well, yeah, you kind of see that right away when the battle starts.
Mm-hmm.
What are the two blue guys' names again? I already
Twins.
the Mauler twins.
Yeah.
Mauler.
mm,
Okay, I've seen it so many times. Like there's too many characters.
There's so many.
Yeah, the Mauler twins like try to get Rudy tries to make the Mauler twins go back to prison. And he's just like, "You put the neural link in me, bitch."
Yeah.
Like, I got this transformer, and he turns the truck into a giant robot. That's a power trip. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine some 13-year-old looking kid like having a transformer, and you're like,
Yeah.
"What's made you? The hell?"
Um, yeah. It's hard because I feel like Robot and now Rudy are like integral parts to the Guardians of the Globe team that like I worry what's gonna happen in the future seasons. Like I don't want him to turn evil even though he's already a little evil.
Yeah, and I don't know what's gonna happen between him and Monster Girl because
Yeah.
I really, if like putting myself in Monster Girl's shoes, I just wouldn't like. And if I was Rex, like he takes that so chill. Why do we move on so quickly from the fact that it's just been a mini? Like I wouldn't
yeah,
trust him. I'd be like, he can steal my DNA and then just make another copy of me.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what
yeah. I guess.
if he makes another copy of like Monster Girl or something like that? Would she have like the same curse? Like what if he's just like, I can just make another you that's
And
fixed?
like change something in your brain to make her fall
Yeah,
in love with me.
I know. I just wouldn't trust him after
Ooh.
that.
He's a little too powerful, and I don't think people notice that. Like Robot is very powerful.
He's corrupt too. He
Yeah.
worked for criminals.
Yeah.
He's a big male manipulator energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In robot form.
They put him in charge. Then he's the leader of the little teen guardians or whatever.
Yeah.
I forget what their group is. They are the Guardians of the Globe, but they have a name before.
Oh, because they were once Teen Team when it was just like Adam,
Yeah.
Eve, and Duplicate and Rex.
Yeah.
I love the names, by the way. Duplicate? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Portal, Monster Girl. I love it. I love the names. It's like the most exciting part. I'm like, what's the pun this time? New superhero? Who's the pun?